start recording. Okay, so today, like I was saying, we were doing like a little bit of a review. We've been meeting for a couple of months now. We do like one webinar a month. Funny enough, Meetup had some issues with me doing online meetings instead of like doing them in person. It was having the thing like, you know, Meetup is for meeting people in person. So they were blocking some of it, but now they have understood that I don't do these meetings very often, but there's many of the people that attend Meetup that are not able to travel or they relocate. I have people that have moved to Texas, to Seattle, to different places, and they want to attend. So this is another way of like making information available. So we do this every month, and we started with tarot. Like I started with like doing classes about tarot, but then it may expand into like doing some classes about runes or astrology or different things that I will do online. So stay tuned, but I think for the rest of this year, I'm gonna just be doing tarot because we are starting with spreads and there's a lot of spreads that we can cover. So there is plenty of topics to be able to do them till the end of the year. But if you wanna see the previous classes, like I was mentioning before, like you can go to the YouTube channel and check out the Intro to Tarot, then the Major Arcana Hero's Journey class, then the Minor Arcana, and then the core cards. And we did all that so we can get to this class about spreads. And why do we need spreads? You know, that is a good question because some people, when we start learning, we need some structure. We will look at the card and the card will tell us a story. But then we have to figure out how we are going to tell the story. So different spreads show us different positions so we can interpret the story that we see in the card based on the position it is. So if you're doing a reading for yourself, it's easy because usually you shuffle and then you take the cards and you keep them in order. So you know which card you took first, which card came second, third, fourth, five, whatever type of spread you're doing. But if you're doing a reading for another person, I usually tell the person like to shuffle, to cut it, and then when they are picking the cards that they have to put one on top of the other, face down, so I can keep the count because that will tell me like what position and what meaning has the card for that person. Because when we are working with spreads, we are assigning a meaning to each of the positions. So if the cards get mixed up, then it will not be as accurate because the past may become the future and the present may become the past and we don't know. So it's important that, like I said, if you're doing readings for yourself, you usually keep track on how you pick the cards. But if you do for another people, believe me when I say, many people like putting them in their own ways, and then you are trying to say like, well, was that 1, 2, 3, which one was 5? And you get messed up. So it's the easiest way to say, just put one on top of the other face down, and then you go from there. And so that is what spreads give us. It gives us a structure to be able to tell a story. Some people are able to look at the cards and they pick. I've seen some readers that don't have any kind of spread. They are like just picking cards until they feel it's done. And they tell the story that way. But most of the people, at least the beginners, need the structure because there is not that relationship with the cards that you have when you've been working with them for a long time. So you can know like, oh, okay, yeah, I think we are done with this card. If you were doing like a free form type of reading. But again, like I said, when you start, you want some structure, and that's what spreads give you. Today, we are going to be covering the 1-card spread, which is very simple, the 3-card spread, and the 5-card spread, okay? So when we start with the 1-card spread, it's just 1 card. And this is the simplest one to read. And I feel like when we start learning tarot, we usually I tell my students all the time, just pick one card a day, you know, look at it, write it down in your journal, let the day pass and see, come back at night and see like, did the card make sense? Did it bring me a meaning of the day? Did it advise me on something? Or was just like, maybe it had nothing to do with the day. And at that point, I would say, because I say this when we started, like in the introduction to tarot, like we usually depend a lot on the book, okay? But if we have a tarot deck that is like this one, the Rider-Waite, which is a very beginner traditional deck, you do have a picture. So I would invite you to definitely look at the picture first and see what you see, and then go to the book. Because again, you may pick up this card today and go to the book, and like, I don't know, a book may say like, yeah, it's success, it's moving forward. It could say many different things, right? But then you took it today and your day was horrible. You were stuck in traffic. You just like failed miserably. Maybe you did a test and failed, and there was no success, there was no anything there. So then you go back to the book and say, well, this card really didn't have anything to do with me. So then you have to start looking like, well, really? Maybe this card has a different meaning for you. Maybe Spirit has a different way to see the card for you that has nothing to do with what the author wrote in the book. And I always say, like, it's great to follow what the artist, what the author said, but at the end of the day, cards are like mirrors, and they will reflect back to us whatever is happening to us. So maybe that day was like, yeah, you have the strength to face all these challenges. And at the end of the day, there is a brand new day tomorrow, and it will get better. But you faced it, and you fought, and you gave your best, and feel okay. You were able to balance that light and darkness. And maybe today, the day was more on the dark side. When we look at, you know, this card, we do see the sphinxes, and usually that is what brings harmony and balance. Like we have the light with the dark stripes, and we have the dark one with the white stripes, and it's like balancing. To be able to have success, you do have to have balance and harmony, and not everything is about light. And if there were no shadows, there would be no light. Okay, so it's just like a balancing. It's a game, it's a dance. So you can see that. But I would invite you to use this one card spread as you start learning. And if you're a very beginner and you have never used cards, I would say just divide the deck into major arcana and dedicate 1 month to just pick one major arcana every day. You may see that there is some repetition, like some cards may come up again and again, and that's giving you a message of what's going on in your life. What's the lesson? Because like I said, major arcana is usually life lessons, and it is connected with karma. So definitely, like, you would want to see like, okay, I'm getting the hangman. I'm getting the hangman. Well, maybe it means that you have to surrender. You cannot push the river any longer. You gotta let go and let God and surrender. Or maybe you are getting the Empress card, and it's telling you like, hey, you know what? Just you are fertile, you have ideas, you have prosperity. Just feel your abundance, feel your value, feel your worth. But you will notice, like, and it's good to keep a journal so you can see, oh my God, the first week that I did this exercise, I don't know, the Fool came 3 times. And I am actually going through like a new beginning. I just moved to a different job or something. You can start seeing the connections. Or maybe you see like every day you have a different card, and that's awesome too. There's only 22 cards in the major arcana, so if you do it for 30 days, repetition may happen. At least it's bound to happen. But definitely like you want to start that way. And then you take the next month and you do the minor arcana. And those are more cards. Those are like 56. So you will get more options of either repeating or not getting a repetition. But again, the same drill, right? Like, what's the card telling you? Look at it in the morning, set the intention. Because if I were to get this card in the morning, I would feel like, oh my God, today is a good day. I'm the Chariot. I'm gonna be good. I'm gonna be moving forward. I'm gonna get some things done. I'm gonna be happy, right? So then check back at night and see, like, did it match up? And many times it may match up, but many times you may get something different. And then you write it in your journal, because the next time you look at that card, are you gonna follow the author's meaning, or are you gonna follow your meaning? And so that's up to you, but definitely, like, you wanna start learning about the cards. And then I wouldn't say separate the core cards, just do core cards together with minor arcana. So you take 1 month for major, you take 1 month for minor, and then you can start doing another month with all the deck, 1 card a day. And the reason why I say 1 card a day and not some other spreads is because it takes time. If you commit to the practice, it does take time to every morning wake up, shuffle, take 1 card, write it in your journal, sort of like set the intention for the day, then come back at night, look at it again. If you start adding more cards, it takes more time. It's up to you. You can do like 3 cards. You could do 5 cards. I wouldn't suggest you do a Celtic cross with 10 cards every day. But those, I would say, like, maybe you do it once a week. You set up a time that you say, okay, this is my, like, trying to figure out what the vibration is for the next week. I'm gonna do this spread that is 10 cards, and it takes a lot more time to assimilate that 1 card or 2 or 3, okay? Any questions so far?
No.
Okay, good. This is easy. 1 card is always easy. Good. So now 3 cards. 3 cards, we start adding a little bit of more complication, like the watches, right? Like, we have a lot more information. Again, these are mirrors. We set the intention on how we are gonna read them, because there's many authors that have many different ways of seeing the 3 card spread. The traditional is past, starting with the left, then the middle one is the present, and then the one at the right is the future. So that is a very traditional. Almost every person that does the 3 card spread does it that way. But then there's some other people that have thought about, like, maybe it's body, mind, and spirit. Like, what's your body telling you today? What's your spirit telling you today? What's your mind telling you today? You can take it to that place. Or you can say, you know, positive, or like good input, challenge, and outcome. You can definitely vary how you want to see this. I would suggest that anytime that you're doing a 3 card spread, you know how you're going to be reading them. Whether it means past, present, future, body, mind, spirit, you know, like positive, negative outcome. However you want to read them, you just want to decide before you start shuffling. And if you're doing a reading for another person, definitely, like, tell the cards, this is what I'm going to be doing. And when the person is picking the cards, like, I'm going to be reading them this way. So help me to help them pick the cards that will attune with this past, present, future structure. So when we look at the cards, we see the past, like I said, it's on the left. And the past, when we talk about cards, we are not talking about like 2 years or 5 years spread. We're talking about something very current. I would say maybe 6 months. 1 year, like a long time for cards. But you could say like, well, you know, in the past, maybe you got a death card and I don't know, grandpa died last year. So I would say, oh yeah, well, that death really brought a lot of like transformation to you. So you can see, but I wouldn't give cards a very long time period for either past, present would be like even it's the energy that's around you right now, but it could be like the next 2 weeks. It's still around you. It's still with you. And then the future would be maybe a couple of weeks away, or maybe 3 months, 6 months, but I wouldn't go longer than that because I feel like cards are very flexible energetically. And the moment you make a different decision, the cards change. So it's not as precise as astrology where you know where the planets are going to be for the next like 15, 20, 30, 100 years. So then you know how it's going to impact your birth chart. With the cards, it's showing you possible outcomes. It's showing you sort of like what's your best option or what's going to happen if you don't take a course of action. But the moment you make a decision and you change it, the cards change with you. So that's why I wouldn't say like very long period of time with cards. So when we look at the first card, we have the Two of Swords. And when we look at this card, it's a very interesting card because people have very mixed feelings with it. It shows a woman with the swords, like blindfolded, does not want to see anything. But when we look at the card, we have to look at the whole card. And I'm sorry, my cards are a little small in the picture. But if you look at this card, the water is pretty calm behind this woman. And water is usually resembling emotions. We have the moon over there as well, portraying intuition. So this woman is closing down to the world to access her intuition and get grounded in her emotions, right? Like, okay, now that I don't have so-and-so telling me what to do or so-and-so telling me like that was wrong, I can really get calm and find my center, find my quiet space, and in that quiet space, listen to the voice within me that tells me what's the best step to do next. Many times when I look at this card, I say, you should try to avoid listening to others. You should just like get some quiet time with yourself, you know, and not, because maybe there's a lot of people around you that have different agendas and they may not be the best for you at that time. But the opposite side, and then you can start seeing what the story is with the other cards that are around it. So then you can go the different way, like, oh my God, you are so stubborn. You are just like, it's your way or the highway, right? Like this woman is not listening to anyone. It's just like, and if you come up, she will chop your head off. So you could see the two different things. And again, it is what is reflecting back to you. It is what's telling you. And so you could see different things different ways, or looking at it at like a combination, you may look at it like saying, okay, today I feel it feels like she needed a time on her own to figure out what she needed to do, and then she moved forward into becoming an empress. Okay, she didn't need to get a lot of like opinions from other people. She needed to just like shield and figure out who you are. What is your energy? What do you want next? Because when we look at the present card, we see the Empress. And anytime that we see a major arcana in a spread, I would say that this type of spread is like a life lesson spread. Like the person is going through some very life affirming, life purpose time in their lives. Like minor arcana is usually very mundane. It's small stories. Major arcana is like the name says, major stories, major lessons. So when we look at like she spent some time in the woods, let's say, not the woods, she has the water behind, but she spent some time in solitude and she found herself And she found that Empress that is the woman that embraces her own value. She knows her worth. She knows her kingdom. She knows, what she needs. And she's very prosperous, very abundant. All the image in this card, you have the female sign, the Venus sign on the throne, but then you have, if we were to expand it and you were to see the big cards, like in her dress, she has pomegranate fruit, expressing like, there's plenty of seeds, there's plenty of growth. She has all the stars too, like she's very illuminated, she knows where she's going, and there's a lot of prosperity and abundance around her. So I feel like that time in solitude really helped her find who she is. And as she finds who she is and she embraces her power, instead of coming from a place of fear, she's coming from a place of empowerment. She's a queen, she's an empress, right? So when we move to the future, we see that because she has been able to build that queendom, now she gets the Knight of Wands. And the Knight of Wands, I always say for the people cards, they are sort of like genderless, because you may get a king card for like a female because she's embracing the more masculine side, or you may get a queen card for a male because he's more like a female receptive side. So even though we do have a certain like the page, the knight, the king, and the queen, still be open to see like, well, the story right now feels like it's a woman, okay, because she has the Two of Swords, which is a woman, then the Empress, and now the Knight, I feel like it's the same Empress, but now she's ready to go into an adventure. She has her confidence to be able to go explore. Like the Knight, usually, if we were to look at the cards in the whole spectrum, we would see like the page as a very innocent, like maybe, I don't know, I would say from 10 to 18 years old. And then you would see the Knight as, the 20s. And then until you get to the King, which is to be like maybe late 30s or maybe even 40s, where you get the solid ground of like you have it all there. You have it all together, right? The same with the Queen. Like you have had your solid foundation built for you. So definitely we see like she got her confidence, and maybe before that she wouldn't go into an adventure. If we were to think about this in a general way, I could even invent a story of saying like, well, she was trying to decide whether she really wanted to go study abroad, and then she found the resources and the confidence, and then she went into the adventure. Like it's taking her a little while right now as the Empress to organize the things, but then she's going there. She's going for it. And that's what the Knight of Wands is telling her. So definitely that's the story I would say for these cards. But I would be interested to see what story it tells you, or if it tells you anything, or if you have any questions.
Nope. This 3-card spread, is it just the major arcana cards?
No, the only major arcana is the center one, the Empress. The Two of Swords and the Knight of Wands are both minor arcana. So when I shuffle all together.
All right.
So yeah, I got this once and I thought, okay, well, we'll pick up that way. Okay. Anything, when you look at the cards, what comes up? Does anything come up besides what I said?
The Knight of Wands a court card?
Yes.
Okay.
But court cards they are within the minor arcana. Like
Okay.
definitely like you divide it into major and minor, but they are the people cards.
What's the difference between major and minor?
The major arcana is, like I was saying, soul lessons or purpose or big purpose. Like it's a hero's journey. So it goes from like being born and facing all the obstacles and challenges that you can have. And then you have, you know, until you get to the world where you find your completion. When you look at the minor arcana, they are divided into 4 suits. So you have the wands as the Knight of Wands, which is the fire element, is the spark, the motivation. You can always associate them also, if you want, with like astrology and the signs, the fire signs, and get some of the information that that provides. When we look at the swords, they are the air element, very intellectual, very logical. So anytime that there are swords, we are going through some change in the way we think or change in the way we are structuring our thoughts. When we look at cups, it's emotions. Cup is water. So definitely like there's emotions, maybe relationships going on, some issue like that. And pentacles are usually just mundane, monetary, like physical things that are happening. So definitely like that's the way we would divide them, and we can see them. But they are very like everyday situations, whereas the major arcana is more about like life lessons. Like it doesn't have the same power as the major arcana. Does that make sense?
It does, yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so now we are going to go to the 5 cards. And what I did for this is like I picked 2 more cards. So you will see the same 3 cards. And we are building on top of this spread. And we got a card on top and a card on the bottom. And the way I read this is that the card on top is what is supporting the story, and the card at the bottom is what we don't see. It's sort of like hidden. It's underwater or under the place where you can see. So it's interesting enough, like on the top we get the Hermit, and this is a major arcana card. This is the card that talks about taking some time in solitude, taking some time to find our inner light. And it does connect with the 2 of Swords, where it was saying like, hey, go within. But here it's asking to go to the next level of going within and really connecting with your spirit. The 2 of Swords may have said, come on, put your thoughts in order. Like, don't let that ego or that barking dog go over you. Like, just get your emotions, get your thoughts in order. They cannot control you. You are in control. That's the work. But when we get to the Empress level, she has to take it to the next level. She has to take it to the level of like, hey, let's go within and really find out what we want. What is our purpose? What is our mission? What is our light? And the idea when we look at the picture is that this guy has been in solitude and has found the light that is in the lantern. And that light is his light, the light within that is in the lantern that's illuminating the way he's walking. So definitely like the person is finding her inner power just by really going within and not really connecting with the community, not really connecting with the friends. It's more like, hey, comes the time where you have to sit alone and figure out what's your story. Because it's not what your parents told you, it's not what your teachers told you, it's not what the priest told you, it's not what your friends told you. It's your story, and you are able to write it. But you will only be able to write it if you can peel all the layers of conditioning and mandates that all these other people have put on you year after year after year. So definitely like it is a like soul encounter when we find the Hermit. And what she's not seeing, or what's underwater, as I would say, it's the Ace of Pentacles. And this is a minor arcana card, so it's a more mundane. But she's not seeing the opportunities that this journey is bringing her. And the opportunity, we can see it as like it's bringing her more money. Maybe she finds her confidence to go for a job that will pay more. Maybe she will find the confidence as an empress to speak up. Maybe she will find the confidence, like I was saying, inventing that she's going on a trip or she's going to go study abroad and she's not sure if she wants to, but then she gets like her power back and now she's like, I can't do this. Because again, when the mind dominates, you definitely are in fear. So you don't want to go for it. You really like hear more like the negative side of like, oh, what if something happens to you? What if you don't have enough money? What if? That's what comes up. And that's why she had to go to that Two of Swords and shut down. So she can like say, hey, there's no more what if. I need to figure out what I want and then go forward with it. But what she doesn't see is like the opportunity. And if she embraces it, if we were to continue the spread and take some more cards, I would swear that we would get some, like, maybe a little bit of like a sneak peek of what that opportunity was. Maybe it was a new love. Maybe it was valuing herself to be able to say, hey, you know, stop. Don't try to control me. Or, you know, like I said, new relationship, new job. Maybe she gets married. Like a lot of opportunity for finances. We don't know. We don't know what the opportunity is, but she's not seeing that. And what we can say if we were doing this reading for someone is that, hey, if you really embrace your power and you figure out what you want, money will follow. Like the moment you embrace it, you're not seeing it right now, but money will follow you. Don't worry about, don't think too much. Just know, find that light within, find your power, embrace your power and move forward. And then trust that, you know, money or whatever value you're looking for is going to come your way. But I think like every time we face something unknown, we think we are not going to get the opportunity. We are not going to get the money. If we really like go against what the tribe says, like, oh my God, if you're not a doctor, if you're not a lawyer, if you're a musician, oh my God, you're gonna die like hunger. And you know, music doesn't pay much and all these different mandates. So that is why I feel like this lady had to go into that Two of Swords of like, oh no, I don't want to listen to my own monkey, and I don't want to listen to the monkey of other people that I have around me that don't have anything positive to say, but they are just like reflecting back to me my own fears. So you will, if you are in fear, you will find someone that is going to reflect that back to you. And it's up to you to say like, hey, you know what? I already feel it. I don't need you to tell me that. I don't need you to voice what I'm already thinking. I'm actually going to deal with what I'm thinking and trying to move in a different direction so I can be more successful. So definitely that's the way. And what I would say is like, again, it depends on how much time you have. Like these spreads that we saw today, they are very simple. If you are a very beginner, I would say like 1 card a day for a couple of months until you feel comfortable picking up the card and seeing like, oh, this is the story it's telling me. Oh, this is what's happening. And then you move into more elaborated, but you could do a 3-card spread, or you could do a 5-card spread, like once a week, once every other day, depending, but write them down, see how they are evolving as well. Usually, with tarot, as with everything, practice makes perfect. So the more you do it, the better you get at it. The more you look at your cards, the better connection you have, the better relationship you have, the better they talk to you. And if your cards don't talk to you, there are so many different types of tarot decks, so many different types of oracle decks, that you will find one that talks to you. So just keep exploring, keep finding the pictures that talk to you. When I started with this deck like over 20 years ago. So definitely like it has been my deck, but I know it's a very masculine, patriarchal deck. Now they have rounded decks, they have more goddess-oriented decks. So it depends on what you feel and what you connect with, but you gotta have a rapport with your cards if they are gonna be working for you and working with you. So definitely you wanna have a connection. But the more you build, the more you practice, the more you do, the better you get. And like I said, depending on how much time you have to dedicate every day, I would go for more sophisticated spreads. Like, for example, I have these 2 books. If you want to learn, they are great. Like I always have them in our presentations because they are 2 of my favorite tarot books for new beginners. But also what we are going to do is, like, in July, we are going to be talking about the Celtic Cross. And this is a 10-card spread. So imagine now we just did 5 and it takes some time. Then we are going to add 5 cards more to that. So it's going to keep growing. So those are spreads that you may do once a week, once a month, once every 3 months, depends on you. The Zodiac spread has 13 cards, so it's even bigger. So again, like, unless you have time to dedicate like 40 minutes to do a reading and write your cards and really sink in with them, I wouldn't suggest you do these spreads, because it will be like either you rush it or you don't really assimilate it. Then we will do love spreads in September, and I have a couple of love spreads, like seeing what he's thinking, what she's thinking, what's the relationship. There's a couple of different spreads. And October is gonna be how we create our own spread. How do we build? Because by then we have been seeing many different spreads and we have an idea of how spreads work, so you can create your own. So definitely that's what's coming. And like I said, I do feel that I'm going to continue with tarot until the end of the year, maybe add some practice readings, or bring different spreads and, go over reading techniques on how to tell the story, how to really, combine cards together, how to, read them if they come together or they are in opposition. So definitely I feel like this year is going to be mainly for online classes, just tarot. But I may be adding some more stuff next year. So any questions or anything that comes up?
I'm just looking at this, and what's I don't how do I want to ask that? What does Celtic Cross mean and Zodiac spread? What's the difference between those 2 spreads besides the number of cards that you use?
And the type of information you get. The Celtic Cross is a very popular. So you have very similar past, present, future, like possible, what's in your environment, what are your fears, what's the outcome. You get different pieces of the puzzle. With the Zodiac, because you are in astrology, so it does resemble the house system. So you go with the 12 houses, and in the center you have the person. So you go house by house, but you use tarot for it. And what it does, it gives you an idea of like, well, what areas you have to work on, right? If you are like having an issue on the 2nd house, maybe you are dealing with money issues or value issues or self-worth. But if you have an issue, let's say on the 9th house, you are dealing with religion or your beliefs or the way you connect with that. So different spreads provide you different things. And like I said, we do set what the meaning of each card is before we do the spread. So if I am doing like a Celtic Cross, I know that the person is picking 10 cards, and that's why I'm very cautious that they put one on top of the other, because I want to make sure that I'm not reading your like issue as your present or, you know, it's like it may vary the whole spread if it's in a different position.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And spreads are there just to guide you on how to interpret. So you can be like a little more direct into like what you're seeing. You can say, oh, well, you know, I see in the present, this is what's going on. I see in the future, I see that your fears are this. I see that, you know, and you are able to connect the meaning of the card in a position that allows you to talk. Similar to like Randy in mediumship, where you have to see like divide the person, and so you are able to say, well, I see this person on your mother's side, on your father's side. So you want some structure, so you are able to convey the message, and it has more meaning for the person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions?
That's it for me.
Good. Wow, you're easy.
I have one question on the YouTube videos. Can
Yeah.
I easily find it under your name? Or?
Yes, it's usually under my name. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You'll find it, like Carolina Moore and Aisha. And it has a picture of me, so you should be able to find me there. But yeah, I have all of them. And then I also have the divination insights, which are shorter segments where I was talking about the retrograde planets or some different topics. And I try to start doing that every week, but it's been hard to keep up. So I have a lot of topics. Like I want to do the card of the year, the personality card, and all these different things. That I want them to be short, because this usually is 1 hour. So
Yeah.
there's a couple other videos there that you can see as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Cool.
Well, great. It was great to see you, ladies. And I
Thank
hope
you,
you
Carolina.
learned something. And I
Yeah.
will see you next month for just the Celtic Cross. And we will be just exploring that spread. And it's pretty big, so I think we'll just jump into like analyzing each card and learning the meaning of each card as well as the position, so you can learn a little bit of both. Okay,
All right. That'll be good.
Okay.
Thanks.
great. It was great seeing you. Have a good night.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.